worry near as much about toxin consumption. No, it's not as big a deal. Why? Because toxin retention is the issue, not if you eat it and then get rid of it. Great, that's what you're built to do. The problem is if it sticks around, then you got problems with toxin accumulation. So charge is the mechanism of detoxification, which is, well, the way I started, and the reason I say to start with this, and unfortunately, or fortunately, depending, it's not cheap to get a Magnetico, because it's literally like a couple 100 pounds of unidirectional magnets that go underneath your mattress. I will say though that I would say for magnetism, that's the only thing I got, except there are certain locations on the planet that have higher magnetism and people are healthier there too. Well, I will say, don't let me get off that. Okay, pause that. And then, so one example would be Gulf Coast, where that Gulf was created by a meteor that hit the Earth that was largely metallic. The metals underneath, the Earth's crust, affect the magnetism of the Earth. So that's why if you have the varying metals, will have a varying magnetic fields all throughout the Earth. Coincidentally, like in that area where the tip of that is still sticking up, happens to be where the Aztecs came up. So I think you could probably track ancient prevalent civilizations based on.
You're already anthropologist.
Of course,
That's what you think.
Yeah, that's where that society would spring up. I mean, I always tell people about cacao because it's got tons of what's chemically called PQQ, which boosts mitochondrial genesis, meaning you make more mitochondria, meaning you have more charge. But if you took cacao in a unique environment that was really high magnetism from a meteor with lots of sun, it would cause way more benefits. So it would cause an Aztec civilization to spring up, whereas if you had this, you see what I mean? So you have the combination of those things is unique. So it's no coincidence that they had a super advanced civilization spring up in that spot. Why? Because they were high charge. High charge equals smarter. What we think of, and I said this last time, but a lot of what people talk about in terms of ancient humans, or aliens must have done it because there's no way a human could have done it. They're thinking about low charge modern day humans. They're not thinking about high charge, because in dinosaur times, the magnetism on the planet was like 300 Gauss. It's currently 0.5 Gauss.
And
Okay.
ready to switch?
We're on the tippy tail of that thing. What does that mean? That our actual cognitive psychic abilities are on the lowest point. So we look back at all those things that we hear stories about and think those were just stories. Well, maybe when it's 100 Gauss and you're in a specific place with specific mitochondria, you can be a absolute superstar when it comes to your psychic abilities in terms of neurological connection with other things based on what frequency. You see what I mean? Well, that's magic. Right? This is, if you want to understand human history, just look at the magnetic cycle, because that's human potential cycle. The times we're in are in a very low. I believe that we're creating technology as an effort to supplement our natural abilities in a high magnetism environment. That's
and the God factor too.
Well, what do you mean by that?
Meaning, trying to strive to that ultimate intelligence.
Yeah, I think that it's a disconnection between the idea that for me, the most advanced civilizations in human history didn't leave a mark. Because they were so intertwined with nature that there was no separation for them to be distinguished as advanced. They were just, there was no separation. They just were. In the same way that so then you see that drop off and you start to see advanced civilizations spring up. They're more disconnected. And now we have extreme disconnection. We long for all the things that we don't have it anymore with our connection with nature. We can't hear it anymore. That's a magnetism story. So that's why with the Magnetico, it's a Magnetico, you can get one that's 20 Gauss. So if the Earth's is 0.5, it's 20 Gauss. That gets you a 40 times the Earth's magnetism. It'll boost the charge of your electron 1,600 times. What does that mean? It means I was way less smart 2 years ago. Honestly. Because my brain has actually measurably been altered as a result of the metal detoxification that's taken place and the massive increase of charge. I am not a wealthy person. I do not have a lot of money. I got the Magnetico out of pure desperation. I now sleep on 2 of them.
Did that pull the metal?
It boosts the charge like so high that you don't have to rely on what's called the glutathione system to go. See, the body makes glutathione inside a cell out of cysteine, but anyways, glutathione's created for cellular detoxification, but we have so much toxicity that it's just we're low. Supplemental glutathione doesn't enter the cell. Don't waste your money. So that's one thing, because something's good doesn't mean it works if you pop it in that way. So relying solely on the glutathione system, there's just not enough margin to do the job. I mean, you can get a little bit of result, but that's why if you do DMSA, for example, which is a metal chelator, naturally you got to cycle it and do 3 days and then do 11 days, with glutathione boosters to allow for it to not cause a disruption, all this stuff. If you're on a Magnetico, I did DMSA like on and off for 1.5 years, like in a way that you'd never, and it just acts like a sponge because all the stuff's free flow in your circulatory system because it's being pulled out of the cells electromagnetically by increased charge. My whole life is completely different. So that's why if I was so sick, I was making arrangements to die. I was blacking out and I couldn't function in life. So, Angela knew me then, I was just in a horrible, horrible spot. So I'm a huge fan of the Magnetico as the starting point. Well, also because it does cost something.
You had the metal out of your teeth, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's the thing though, on a Magnetico, I just wrote a blog post about this, the metal story. Because I got my metals removed by a guy locally who covered them up. So he drilled them out unsafely, because if you drill out metals out of teeth, the danger is you breathe. And they drill them out and you breathe and it goes straight where? To your brain. But much safer to have metals in your teeth than in your brain. They're safe and sound in your teeth. If you drill them out, you run a risk. So I had this guy drilled them out unsafely, so I knew nothing about this. I just had good intentions. I'm going to do the healthy thing and get metals out of my teeth because they're bad. Dentist drills them out. I'm breathing all this stuff in. He covers them up. I don't know. He didn't drill them all out completely. He just drilled out some of it and then covered the rest up. I did not know this. I had decay, so my nerves are now directly exposed to metal that it's covered, so it cannot off-gas into my mouth and out into the environment. It goes where? To my heart. Kidneys, heart, gut, brain, real bad, whole body shot, right? Of course, I'm on a vegan diet. I'm sleeping on a grounding sheet, which is next to a router. Grounding sheets, by the way, are a big net for Wi-Fi and Uconduct. Do not buy them. They worked 20 years ago. They don't work now. Why? Because the environment changed. There wasn't Wi-Fi back then for them to worry about picking up. Please do not buy a grounding sheet. Bad news. And I've talked to a lot of people that have grounding sheets and they also have heart issues because because that's what it does. It's a sheet that you can buy that will then you plug it, literally plug it into the earth to ground you out because walking on the earth is good. It's called grounding. You get electrons from the earth. That's healthy. Well, somebody had the idea of, you can be grounded all the time while you sleep if you lay on this grounding sheet, but the grounding sheet is just wired with metal to ground you. So because you conduct, so you lay on the sheet, then you're there grounded out. True. Except that net is in the modern environment, not 20 years ago, is now frying you. So here I am on a grounding sheet next to a router, knowing nothing about frequency on a vegan diet because I want to be as healthy as I possibly can as I'm having all these horrible health issues. I already have terrible mitochondria. You see what I mean? So I can go on with my story. Also had, like, at the same time I got my teeth done, I got a big metal plate in my arm called a tattoo, which is real stupid. So please don't get tattoos. Why? Because 20 years ago you get a tattoo, it's just toxic, but it's not that bad. Now the metals here, what's that? This is an antenna. I go down to LA and my arm shakes. Like, you can feel, guess what? I got it over my heart here. You see what I mean? So you think I'm not having heart issues, you know what I mean? I'm doing everything right by the health standards. With my diet is a perfect vegan diet. You see what I mean? So the way this went down basically is that as I'm making arrangements to die, to notify my parents, because I literally was at the end, I had done everything I could do. I randomly, like, dentist friend of mine wanted to see me or whatever, honestly on a trade for a product I used to sell. And so he said, hey, and I hadn't seen a dentist in forever. I told him I'm terrified of dentists, you know what I mean? He looks in my mouth, he says, who's trying to kill you? I said, what are you talking about? He says, your mouth is full of covered up metal. We got to get it out right away. He came in on Saturday the next day and took it all out. He put an air mask over my nose to breathe. He put a dental dam in my mouth. He had a vacuum there to suck it up. And he was so worried about the metals, he opened up the window in the office too. And dimmed the lights. Why? Because fluorescents interact with metals. So you got a flicker effect fluorescent light, and you wonder why some people get really affected by that. More metals you got in your body, worse the effect, right? So I didn't know any of this. That's how I started.
Is that the same? Like if you have gold teeth, is that the same?
They're not all the same. Problem with amalgams is you don't know what's in them.
You can keep your gold teeth?
Gold is good.
Oh, okay.
Gold is the one is like a very unique metal that is not going to cause the effects that, say, mercury is. Mercury's bad news, very prevalent in dental work. Now here's the thing: should you get your metals out? Not if you're going to the first guy I went to. Make sense? So you can't just tell people, yeah, get the metals out. You'll be way better.
Well, what did he replace the metal with?
So when he pulled it out, he just the
Ceramic?
yeah, it was just the composite stuff. Yeah. And after that I immediately felt like, okay. Like that's when my healing started. Then I move on to like realizing I'm starting to feel better. I eat an egg and straight away my brain, then I'm eating fish. I started eating DHA. You know what I mean? Because I was like, with this vegan guru guy that I found out was eating eggs and fish the whole time. So here I am, sick as a dog. You see what I mean? He tells me salmon are vegan because they swim upstream to die. I'm like, I wish you would have told me sooner. You see what I mean? So, I mean, it's just an excuse to eat fish. You know what I mean? It's not vegan. It's like, obviously, it's like, oh, you got caught eating fish. You know what I mean? It's like, it's like here I am, this, following this low charge diet in a poor light environment. I'm not bashing veganism in an appropriate context. You see what I mean?
In the tropics.
Right, at the equator. That's where the yogis lived. That's where they were. And I don't think it necessarily equates to spirituality, because I think Native Americans and Inuits were also spiritual people. And they weren't. Everyone has to eat for their environment, their light environment. So that led me to this. I ended up starting to get better, then way worse. Why? The smart meters. You see, I get a Magnetico. The Magnetico, and I move from that apartment right away. Change my environment dramatically, get a Magnetico, start to do light calibration. I was concretely anti-nature.
Yeah,
She can test this. I am a city boy. I grew up in the city, the inner city. I was never out in nature. I was never had my shoes off. I was told as a kid, do not ever take your shoes off. Because in the hood, you do not take your shoes off. You will step on things is far more dangerous, right? So So this whole thing started, I get a Magnetico, that changed my life. Why? Because it immediately started to get rid of the metals, and it also increased my charge. I started learning about magnetism. I also started learning about electric relative to magnetism and frequency. That took me from being passionately focused on chemistry, traditional health, alt health, in terms of nutrition, right? Because my nutrition had been perfect vegan nutrition, like perfect, zero junk food, zero anything considered bad. So then I start to learn all this stuff. And as I start to learn it, I'm shocked because I start to connect dots. And I go, oh, 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 oh. This started when I got the metals as a kid and gained a massive amount of weight and got anxious and depressed as a child, as a low charge child with metals. I could explain my whole life. Guess what I can also explain? Just about everybody else's. Start to connect dots, start to look at people with all these illnesses that are weird. Makes tons of sense to me.